Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Weaponry Guide. This time with the tragedy that is called blade, or in this case knife, sometimes it's called saber. The developers are currently working on the translation, sometimes you see other names. I think if you go to the techniques, it says saber near weapon, whereas up here for the kunwu on the top right it says type weapon knife. So they apparently can't decide on what they actually want to go for. Now, why did I call it a tragedy of a weapon? In case you have not watched the sword video with sword, I have talked about how many incredible weapons there are with Granite Dragon Sword, the Giant, Xuanyuan, Roar of the Dragon and so on. Now with Blade we have a total of 7 legendary weapons, and all of them sadly suck. Just to go very quickly through them, one of the requirements I have for like a really good weapon is to have a 660 main stat attack and 300 substat. And out of these 7 weapons, only a single one has that set up, which is Kunwu. Now if you then further look at Kunwu, it essentially offers nothing of value. You have minus chi, which is not that impactful, you have additional spirit gain and some blade. It's nothing like increased crit damage or increased base damage. The only weapon in fact of these 7 which has one of those modifiers is Summer Sparrow. It has up to 30% crit damage. However, only 600 main stat attack and 200 additional. And that results in, I think, 336 attack you are losing out on simply due to those stats, which is then partially made up for with the crit damage, but you're not getting far. So to very quickly sum up, Blade is pick either the Kunwu or the Summer Sparrow. Why either? In case you're playing a difficulty or you have a setup where you can't do a lot of crits, for example the enemies running Confucius 13 Sutras, or your crit chance is not that high, whatever the case may be, Kunwu is your perfect option. It does allow you to do the most damage. Now in case you can crit, you pick Summer Sparrow. And then if we just consider the other weapons, Canine God, sorry, but I do not see a single use case for this outside of a very niche gimmick, which is a blind build. Reason being is, for a blind build you typically use the Brush martial arts, but Brush does not have the best for dealing or inflicting blind, as you can see. So typically you'd run Perfect Adaptation Canine God with Brush skills for this blind gimmick. The issue of course with the blind gimmick is it's not that good. The build really falls apart later on. There's no real output solution you have. Your recovery or your survivability is purely dependent on the blind setup, which is completely negated by 13 Sutras. So yeah, then Dragon Tooth, completely pointless sadly. Ying Dragon, yes, it does have the final damage per bleeding, but at most this would be 20% damage, and it's very hard to inflict a lot of bleeding when the weapon itself does not inflict bleeding. So if imagine the Pierce modifier was inflict up to 20 bleeding on the enemy, you could see a situation in which this is useful. But sadly that is not the case. Then Xingtian, here you go, has the bleeding and has some HP leech, but is not that amazing. Obviously if it's your only option, you can easily use Xingtian. It's obtainable from the story by just defeating the Yan army entirely and killing the general, but it's not that good. And that was my cat in case you heard her. And then lastly we have the Frost Moonblade, which also does nothing. So very quick video. As for the weapons, I'll show you where to get them. Summer Sparrow in fact is really annoying to obtain, as you need to do a commission quest from the water camp 15 times. And as for Kunwu, it's a bit easier, as you simply need a recipe. Here we are in the Yan army camp or palace camp, whatever you would like to call it. And if you simply head up to this bookshelf right there and interact with it, you can get the Kunwu blueprint. Now, crafting it is rather straightforward. Once more, you simply need to mine and I think even attend the auction. Now, the requirements for me right now are lowered due to a mod, but these are the essential supplies. So 1000 years frozen iron is from the night market, and the rest can all be mined in either your homestead or the different locations such as Langya, Sword Pavilion. So to sum it up again, either use the Kunwu or Summer Sparrow, or simply pick Perfect Adaptation and use any of the insane options from Sword, which is a shame, but hope you enjoyed the weaponry guide for Blade. See you next time with Spear.